Uh, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, great. I couldn't hear Cassandra and she was talking, so.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So I'm just going to paste that in the formulas room so that people know, because I gave the wrong address just a minute ago.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, weird. My Bluetooth headset is charging and it was joined automatically to this meeting. Imran, I made you the host for this meeting. I need to leave and pop onto our all hands. But if you have any questions, DM me, okay?
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Yep.
Great. Hi, guys. How is everyone?
Hanging out.
Good, thank you.
Excellent. I'm just getting a few little bits and pieces ready. Just give me 1 second. Actually, I want to go. Right, I think we've got a couple missing. Daniel because Daniel was looking for us, I think. Is anyone in the formulas room in Slack? Can you
I can be, yes.
Yeah, can you just check if Daniel's there? Because he was looking for us.
I've just posted a message.
Okay. And where am I? Almost there, I'm just getting my bits together. Right, should we begin?
Well, do you want to give it a minute? Because, yeah.
What I'll do is I'll just start with some of the just quickly covering some stuff. So it's not the important things for today's meeting. So I'll just clear that while we're waiting for others to come.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to get through. there's a lot going on, obviously. Yeah. So I'll just start and we'll see how it goes with people joining.
Okay.
Right. So going back to our Tiger board from last week, I haven't added anything else on the epics as such, except for one thing at the bottom. This might be a little small. Let me get a bit bigger for a minute. So you might have seen there is this stacker idea that Nicholas brought up in the discussions. In fact, we can talk about it in a minute, but that's the only thing I've added to epics as such. So we can get into that shortly. Otherwise, starting at the backlog, you can see our graph is modifying now as we're clearing certain things off the list. But from this list over here, as I said last time, only really interested in the things that are not new. So I've put a custom filter there I think you should be able to use as well. So just ignore anything that's new, because that's not really important to us. And these are the remaining backlog items that I haven't added to any of the sprints so far. So I'm just going to go to last week's sprint, just have a quick look at that. So if I just fold this for a second and go to close sprints and have a look at what happened in meeting 2, let's do it like that. So just going to summarize some of the things that have happened in the last 2 weeks, just as we're waiting for the others to come in. So one of the big things we covered last week was the last couple of weeks was code owners, and the idea about getting these code owner files out to all of our semantic release formulas. And we've managed to do that. We've managed to get that all out there, but it also did involve a few extra little stages. So there was adding the files initially, and then there were, for the code owners to work properly, you actually have to have the right permissions set up on each repository. And that means the team has to actually have right permissions to that repository. And that wasn't actually quite the case for quite a few of the repos. There was a lot of, some of them had been forked into the organization, some had been transferred, some had not had their settings, or maybe some of those teams hadn't existed beforehand. So that had to be fiddled with as well. And then we used the SSF formula to push it all through. So if we was just to look at the state of one of them now, let's see if I can get, actually let's do it straight from here. So if I go to the template formula right now, we have a quick look at this. So this is a fairly standard code owners file that's out there. And there's 4 sections that are being used in some formula or another. One of these sections, these 4 sections are being used in one way or another. So for example, for the template formula, our global owner is the SaltStacks formula working group. We don't have any owners for any specific directories. So this is that section there, but everything to do with semantic release. Because what I was also finding is there were PRs coming in and they were maybe modifying 1 or 2 of these files. And then for me to catch up with that at the other end was getting quite difficult. So this has actually proved quite useful for me. So this will be in every formula. So if any of these files are modified, I'll be, or not I will be, but this team will be, whoever's in it, which is myself at the moment, will be pinged so that they can also review that PR, or at least capture those changes and pull them into the SSF formula. And then some formulas also have specific files that have ownership on them as well. I think the SALT formula has some of those. So this has now been spread everywhere, and David has managed to update the script so that if someone, do you want to explain just quickly what you've done?
Well, it's just a continuation of the formula conversion script, really. And so one of the steps now involves changing that owner to none at none, which basically leaves the formula unowned, essentially. And that's about it. Because I mean, the whole point is that we don't want every new formula to be owned by the working group.
Yeah. So it's just something else added there to the convert formula. So it sets it to none, which isn't actually a valid GitHub handle. And that way, when someone clones the formula, they won't be pinging us. But just to mention, even if they did, even if they didn't, even if this wasn't done, until you're someone with right permissions on their repos, you won't actually get pinged. You won't actually get pinged for reviews because you have to be a right owner on the actual repo. But still, I think this is useful to have that because it makes it clear that something needs to be done. Yep. So that was
just on that point. Actually, I've just remembered something.
Yeah.
I was planning, or I am planning, on the script to put a command line option to actually remove the code owner's file. The reason for that is, I mean, at least personally, I create formulas that I don't intend to put into the into the organization. So does that make sense? Are people happy with that?
Sure. I mean, I think if it's not going to be used anything to do with our organization, then of course they can do that. Wouldn't they be able to do that anyway? Just they'll be able to see that they don't need that file and just remove it, or you think?
Yeah, sure. Of course they can do that, but to put it all in the same conversion kind of commit, just
Sure.
For tidiness more than anything.
Sure, definitely. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
And yeah, okay. There were a couple of bots added to the org, a couple of GitHub bots. One
sorry.
for, yep.
Maybe one thing that can be done with that is that when you run the convert script, either using a parameter or at the end with a message saying, okay, if you plan to use this new formula for private use, you can run the script again with this parameter and it will remove all the lingering scripts like code owners, etc. Something like that.
David?
Okay. Well, I'll have a think about it. Yeah. I mean, Imran and I kind of had this discussion. I prefer scripts to run quietly, at least unless, there's some particular reason not to. So yeah, I mean, I'm certainly up for a command line option, sure. But as for any messages, yeah, I mean, we can look at it, we can discuss it. But yeah, good idea.
Sure. Sorry about that. Twice. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, sorry, I thought I hit my microphone. Right, just briefly, there's a couple of new bots that are running on our repos. One's for CommitLint, and the other one is a pull assistant. I'll just mention them in brief for now. If you do see them and you have a problem with them, just let me know, okay? But I think they're actually being very helpful because they're giving us, making it a bit easier to see what's actually happening in each pull request. But I'm just, like I said, touching upon that right now. This was the IRC bridge, so what's happened is we're testing it out right now with the SaltStorm miner public room. And there's a couple of little problems that the IRC users are complaining about in the way that it represents the messages. But again, this isn't very important for us right now, so we won't worry about that. David, any progress with this? I mean, this was great, what you did here with the Firefox formula. Is there any other progress you're getting towards?
Well, no, I have to admit, no, just because I've been sidetracked with other things.
Okay, it's not a problem. It's good to know that there's something there, though.
Yeah, no, it's very much one of my next actions. Yeah, when I get some spare time.
Excellent. It's interesting. So it'd be great to see if we can get Windows running on GitHub Actions instead. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
We did the CV release last week, or 2 weeks ago, and we got the images out there. We're going to have to do some more this week, which we'll talk about in a minute. So we're using those. What else was there here? There's a fix. There was something that was introduced in the template formula a while back, and a number of formulas that are built on it, which I think I mentioned last week to you guys, was there was a require being used for a service running rather than a watch. And there's a list of PRs, and I'll talk about when we get to our current board, but there's a number of fixes have been done, which is good, but there's a few more still left to be done. Sorry, wrong one. What have we got here? there's some salt SSH fixes as well. And the general issue with the salt SSH fixes are two things. Either it's a defaults.merge or it's templates that are importing. If we were to look at this one just briefly, just so you're aware of what I'm talking about, these things don't tend to work very well in, sorry, I've got the link here instead. If you come across formulas and you're trying to maintain compatibility with SSH, salt SSH, you need to pass things by context instead, rather than where it was earlier. If I just go down a bit here, rather than importing inside of a template, that doesn't work without certain workarounds. And in fact, those workarounds aren't even clear if they are going to work for everybody. So if you see this inside a template, understand that that's not really going to work in salt SSH, and instead you should be doing it through a context in your file managed state instead. So that's one of the things that I think there was some defaults merges here as well. You see, these had to be switched out on using our current map.ginger. So there's a number of fixes related to that as well, but we'll clear them as we encounter them. The weekly tests actually were quite useful last couple of weeks because there were some problems discovered in the package repo module in Sodium, and that's actually now been fixed. So they're proving to be very useful. Let's see. So this is the stacker idea. If you guys get a chance and to see the discussion, it'd be really good if some other people could get involved to see what Nicholas has been actually suggesting, because let's see, he's developed it's a really big project. It's really difficult to talk about. It'd be great if Nicholas himself could explain it to us, but it's like an alternative to PillarStack, but a lot faster. He's done some of the metrics behind it, and it's a lot faster than PillarStack. And he's able to merge, in fact, multiple stacks. So even stacks of stacks, if necessary, in bigger deployments. Very interesting what he was talking about. And it'd be great if someone was able to, if not in the next sprint, but maybe the one after that, to actually just have a look around and see what Nicholas has done and bring some more feedback to the table to see whether it's something that we can use at a formulas level or something we should cater to at least, or whether it's something that's actually maybe more useful in a wider SALT perspective, because there may be people out there who would be very interested to see how this fares, because if pillars are causing so much trouble, you know, with users of SALT, this may be an alternative worth considering. So we can have a look at that maybe in the next sprint or so. Javier has added another semantic reuse formula. Thank you very much, Javier. Any comments on it?
No, it's just a formula to install a pseudo packages for bioinformatics. Something kind of very specific, but well, I was tired of having to deal with that manually, so I went and automated it. Hope it helps somebody.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting formula to look at. I mean, it's very custom, much more custom than many of our formulas. So it'd be good reference point for how SALT formulas maybe need to evolve over time, you know, because there's other things in there you've done that I have not seen in other formulas. So that's very interesting what you've done. Noel's absolutely splurged tons and tons of PRs. Like I said last time, I've got through about 3 or 4 of them. There's still another 25 to go. They're fantastic work. You know, he's done so much, but you can see here in the line, he's just done so much, and there's more on the actual next meeting as well. I'm still covering last week at the moment. Don't worry about that. That's my work with those things. And that's meeting 2 pretty much. So in the last sprint, if you used to look at the burn down that we've got over here, most of that's because of Noel and Nicholas, because of all the work they put in and they'd finished. You know, the burn down actually worked out really well at the beginning. And you can see we pretty much cleared a lot of things in the last couple of weeks, which was good to see. And hopefully we can replicate that in meeting 3. But there's one point I really want to talk about, but what I've done instead is, rather than let that come first, I want to talk through the smaller points or other issues that are still there that need to be discussed. And hopefully we can maybe finish up on the main point I do want to get round to towards the end. So onto this sprint at the moment. A small task, I think you guys have actually done quite a bit on it already, is there were a couple of PRs in the template form that Noel put in. One about the retry dict using that for, especially with the archives, when you're downloading archives from the internet, and sometimes that fails during the process. And there was the other one about adding repo support. Was there any comments about that here to be brought up? Are they just put on pause for now? Javier, I think you got involved with one of them, didn't you?
No, that I recall.
You don't recall? 1 second, let's pull them up. Just briefly, because if they're on pause, I'll just pull them out of the sprint. So this was one of them, and this was the other. So let's just pull those open. So one was the retry dict, and I think it was Dax as well. Dax and Baby GNU were mainly talking to him. I think it was this one here that I saw that you were involved towards the bottom. The repo over here. Oh yeah, it's this idea over here.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Do you want to quickly, briefly mention what you're thinking about here?
Yeah, we were discussing the point of the template formula growing too much, and I recall what I used to do when I had to manage some Puppet modules. Basically, the idea at that moment was that we had 3 different templates, a light one just for installing packages, a medium one to install packages plus some configuration, and the other one to do the full setup of a module, like install the package, set up the configuration, and then manage the service. In that case, we used to have 3 different templates, so you just pick the one you wanted to use to suit your needs, and that would be it. And the idea here was perhaps we can do something similar. The issue with that is that you have to maintain 3 templates, but as they are at the moment kind of standardized, we just can create them and add some extra replication. Just when you modify for example, the complete template with service and everything, just trim the parts that you don't want in the other 2, and you have the other templates. And also the other proposal was to say, okay, when you do the cloning and using the convert script, you just can pass a couple of parameters and say, okay, just trim everything that I don't want. But again, as David mentions, he prefers the idea of running scripts with no parameters and things like that. So perhaps
I think the main issue was interaction, wasn't it, David?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, my idea is non-interactive, just pass a parameter and that would be it.
What would be now, do you reckon we could actually do that? Would it be possible to have one template formula and a script that actually stripped it down to, say, 3 different types of templates, 3 different types of repos that you could build from it? Is that realistic?
Who are you asking?
Anyone, really. I'm just opening a conversation.
I mean, obviously the script would be more complicated. I don't think it's impossible, but it would require to be quite focused on that, to require some focused work on it, I would say.
Yeah.
The other possibility is that we keep this script private, like the SSF formula, and we just publish the 3 results.
True.
Basically, we should be the ones maintaining it, and people would be just consuming the other formulas, or whatever that is contributed to those templates. We just can merge back or manage that ourselves without bothering people to deal with that script.
Yeah,
it's more work for us, of course.
I think we can definitely think about this, but right now in this particular sprint right now, I think it's a bit too much at the moment, right? We're talking about maybe by a meeting or two's time. Is that right? I mean,
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Due to this formula I was writing, I think that I'll try to contribute some things that I noticed that, for example, in the current template, the submodule part, the only thing that it does is just configure the formula.
Right.
While what I needed to do is to set up a suite just with a whole package installed, an extra piece of configuration and a service running for each part. So that's kind of different.
So what we're saying here is because it only has a config, that's not enough.
Yep.
And really it needs packages, config and services as well, maybe.
Yeah, that was my situation. So I'll try to see a way to contribute it back in a generic way, let's say, so you can either configure a sub component or install or manage a sub component, because you have many things that way. Like, I don't know, to say something that comes out to my mind is LibreOffice, for example. LibreOffice, you can install everything, install a part or whatever. It's not the best example, but it's the one that I can think of at the moment.
It's basically like this. So config, package, service, but at the sub-component level as well. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely something worth considering as well. Again, more complexity, but then if these formulas are going to be used for, more, things like what you've just put together, then we're going to need that. It would be worth having. I can't see it being that difficult to put it in the subcomponent. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem. It wasn't difficult to me to add them, and I don't think it's too much complexity. It's just replicating what is already done for config, but for package and service. So.
And the good thing is the way that Tufts works, for example, the way Daniel's put it together, is that you can actually have files at any level of subcomponent as well. So you don't have to rely upon one top level files default or whatever. You can actually put it within each subcomponent as well. So yeah, I think that's a viable idea. It needs to be actually, I haven't got that written down, so that'd be worth writing down as an idea. Okay, so these are sort of there. If anyone wants to have a look, please go ahead and add any more comments to these PRs that are there. I think maybe the retry dict, we got a bit more to discuss there, but some of the ideas you brought out there are very useful. Okay, Tyler, I'd like to draw you in for a second. Are you there? No. Okay. Yeah.
Who?
Tyler.
I'm here. Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, doing good.
Great. Do you remember this issue? We asked if the net manager's repo could be, because you had some feedback for us and we didn't get, what was the deal with this?
I was talking with the SREs and they think that where it belongs is in the formulas repo, not in the main salt repo.
Right. And I sort of mentioned back to you that we don't have the CI for that. We don't have the Travis isn't going to give us what we need to get that done. So what can we find? Is there some other method?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, it's not something they want to take care of.
So what would you suggest? Have you got any suggestions of how we can move forward with this? Because at the moment it's in someone's personal repo, really. I mean, Javier, this is your personal area, right?
Sorry, was answering in the chat.
Net managers is your personal area, isn't it, in GitHub?
Net managers, yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, it's personal. So we really think we should try and move it out of there to somewhere else.
Maybe GitLab. I know GitLab has an easier CI, and I can see about that.
Okay, yeah, great. So having a salt stack formulas on GitLab, maybe, a salt image builder on GitLab instead.
That could be a lot more cool because I know the CI is a lot more friendly in GitLab and doesn't cost as much.
Okay, so not with salt basically, but maybe GitLab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything, if you can just add it onto this as a comment or whatever you like afterwards, that'll be, really helpful. It's there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's that.
I work a little with GitLab in the past months, so if you can provide me an access or something, I can try to convert the scripts and prepare the GitLab YAML file for that.
Are you talking to Tyler, yeah?
Yep.
What was your
Sorry,
question?
Tyler.
Sorry. I was writing to the SREs.
Javier.
Could you repeat the question?
I mentioned that I've been doing some work in GitLab this past month, so I can try to prepare the migration script for the formulas to be moved there if you want.
Let's wait and see, because we do have a presence on GitLab for SaltStack. Like there's gitlab.com/saltstack. Just give me a second to ask the SREs if it is a place where we can put it.
Great.
Or we're gonna make it there.
Great. Okay. Daniel, are you around?
Yes,
Is
I'm
Daniel
here.
Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Oh, maybe not me?
Yeah, you absolutely, yeah. Because you're our resident IRC expert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got like some tests going on, and because we're planning to move the formulas, the IRC. We're gonna keep the same rooms, but we need to put it through Matrix instead. Would you be all right if when that comes along, if we can liaise and get that arranged? Is that okay?
Oh, you can do that whenever you want.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I just wanted to just make sure because at the moment it's blocked because we're trying to get the IRC, details and stuff, who's in charge of it. But once we get that, we're going to move forward with that during the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted to make sure that we can try that out with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And while you're here still, this was maybe you didn't get a chance, but do you want to have a little talk about this, or should we shift that for the future?
I didn't do anything about the documentation. I didn't look at it yet. I'm planning to do that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, brilliant. So
I planned some slots in my timeline.
Fantastic. So this is already there for you. Yeah, it's already there. Just add in as many tasks as you like or whatever you want to give as feedback. So that would be great. Nice. And we spoke to David already about this. So we've got a very interesting suggestion that came in from Max Arnold when we were discussing the whole CVE issue. And the idea was, can we adjust our formulas in some way so that when people run them, if they're running a version of Salt that is not patched, that we can notify them, that they're running maybe an insecure version of Salt. So what we're asking here is, how feasible do you sort of see this? Could we sort of inject this notification into maybe say the init.sls of each formula? How does that sound as an idea? If you get the idea of what I'm saying, yeah? So an old version of Salt is being run and the formula is run on it. And when it hits init.sls, it has a test for the Salt version and it displays notifications explaining that you're potentially running an insecure version of Salt. What do you think about this sort of idea? Anyone?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Do you think if people do not upgrade their Salt software, they will upgrade their formulas?
It's true. It's true. But at the same time, the idea is maybe bringing more channels for that warning to reach them, because maybe it was just something that was brought up from the other side, just in case people aren't. One thing is they may have numerous minions that they haven't actually got around to upgrading, even though it doesn't affect the minions, of course, but it's still maybe there's something out there that they need to do, and it will just give them that heads up that they still are maybe unpatched in certain places of their infrastructure.
Okay.
Well, I've had a similar idea that a formula could check that the formula itself is compatible with a version of the application that you're using, if people get what I mean. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
So
definitely.
it could fit into that same kind of category of checking that the formula is compatible with both the version of Salt and the version of the application itself.
Yep, and we even had ideas about the operating systems as well, because some formulas don't work on certain operating systems. Can we just let Nebu speak, because just raised their hand, maybe there's an angle there.
Yes, it's about injecting something in the init.sls. So this means that if we had that check, it will be only available on the minion, right?
That's what I said at the time, but then the Salt master itself obviously would be a minion as well.
Okay. Okay, because if you have a master without being a minion of itself, you have no way to know what's happening on the master, right?
True, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. It's an idea. It's an idea. If there's any value in it, again, please come along to this card, add more to this user story, or come along to this card and write your comments. And, let's have a think about it. We don't have to do anything now, but if there is a valid idea there, then it's worth, discussing, because maybe even if not this time, if we've got something in place, then if there is some sort of notification that has to reach people, then we've got the structure in place in our formulas to also add another channel for messages going out there to people. Yeah. Anything else about this issue for now?
Yeah,
Go on.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say, if we want this check, not about the Salt version, but the compatibility with the Salt version, I think it should use the already in place formula meta file, which have this information about the OS support, and I think the version supported too. No.
So,
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, the placeholders are there. I don't believe it's actually used anywhere.
No, I don't think. Never.
Well, guys, any feedback on this idea? Please feel free to come along to this user story or this task. Add your comments, and let's try and figure out a way forward with this idea, because it could be very useful if we get it right. Yeah.
I had an idea. I'm not sure if it makes any sense, but I can't. You probably know better. How about a formula to check against a CVE database? So you can use it to check everything that you have installed in a minion against a CVE and report.
All right. Okay. You mean the actual programs on the minion? You mean?
Yep.
Oh, that's a whole different idea as well. Yeah.
No, but I thought about that, extending this idea. Just why report the master? You can check everything on a machine and report it. The CVE database is available to download. It's such a big file, but perhaps we can say, okay, if you want to have a report on your machine, just run it again the database and report what's wrong or something like that. Might be useful.
It's definitely an interesting idea.
Yeah, I'll just add that that's basically what Salt Enterprise does, or part of it, the compliance bit.
Right. So are we trying to take on something too big?
I'm just saying, well, yeah, it sounds like a big thing, which is also handled elsewhere, but yeah, that's obviously at a cost.
Right.
The whole SecOps and compliance bit.
Yep. Got you. Okay, well, like I said, let's have a comment period for the time being until we figure out how we want to proceed with this, because it'll still be quite an endeavor to go around to, say, 60 or 70 formulas, modifying the init.sls, and are people even going to download it to even see it in time, as Eric mentioned? So that's a thought anyway. Just briefly, tomorrow there's the release of 3000.3 and 19.2.5. So we'll upgrade those images as soon as possible and get them out there. And in terms of that fix I was mentioning earlier, the one that came from the template formula, if anyone fancies going into this task, it can be split actually. I've already sort of broken down which formulas are probably affected by it. So if you fancy going in here and grabbing one of those formulas and just having a look at that bit. So most of the time it's that this require over here, it should be a watch. And sometimes the watch and the require are being duplicated for no reason. If that had just been switched to a watch in the first place, it wouldn't be needed. You wouldn't need both basically. So anyone who fancies just going along there and picking a formula and fixing it, you know, you're welcome and it'd be really helpful. That's that one there. The version 4, Daniel, you've been really busy, so should we leave this for the next time?
Oh, this one. Actually, I really don't find any benefits in switching to pure Python file because of the salt SSH issue.
Yeah.
In Python, it's much more clear to follow.
Yeah.
There is a trick, you know, by like lib salt CLI, by indenting only the code and not the Jinja markers. It's a little bit cleaner, but the fact that it's not really usable with Salt SSH is not worth the job for now.
Right. So we're going to have to stick with what we've got for the time being, yeah?
Yeah. We can improve a little bit the Jinja rating, but I will put a commit for that. But switching completely to Python is not possible, at least for me.
Should we do that in the libvirt formula first, so that we're upgraded there and we can see it in operation, and then we can transfer all of that back to the template formula?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So that's there. So we've already mentioned about Stacker. I said that in the first part of meeting 2, when I was covering what we'd done in meeting 2 last sprint. So if anyone fancies, you know, conducting an initial evaluation of Stacker and where it would be useful for us, I've put the link in there to the discussion, so you can just go along and see everything that Nicholas has actually explained. And it's very interesting, like I said. If you get time to have a little look through what he's suggesting, what he's mentioned there, it'd be great to see if anyone can go along and just evaluate it, even just a very initial evaluation. I've marked it down as a big task because it would take a lot of time. But even just as an idea of something that we could aim for in the longer run, that there's not just pillar stack, but there's alternate ideas like Stacker, it'd be really interesting to see whether that could benefit us. There's 4 tasks here that I'm going to take out of this sprint. I just wanted to let you know, which is why I've left them here. One is this idea about black. I didn't find enough formulas for it at the moment, so I'm going to leave that for later. Using black for the Python in the formulas. There wasn't many. And the idea is to do with verifying, using verification of inspec on our map.gingers and our file managed. That can wait for another time. I've got some of them out there. I'll play around with them over the weeks to come, and I'll come back to you maybe in 2 weeks' time with that one. So there's 3 tasks there that aren't important. This is the one I want to get to, because we've already spoke about code owners a lot. I want to take this to the next stage, and I've got a bit of a slightly radical idea. I'm just going to jump straight to it. I've seen, you know, now for about the last year and a half, been involved I've been involved before then, but I've been really involved in the last year and a half. And I showed the graphs last time from Kibana and stuff. We've got a situation where there's a lot of structural work that we're doing with the formulas, but then there's the actual upgrading the formulas themselves in terms of what they're doing, and there's actually reviewing those PRs. So as I showed you earlier, you know, Noel sent me a lot of structural PRs here, and there's even more over here. And I've got all these PRs to go through, which I'm going to take my time with. Noel knows that I can't do those quickly. So I'm quite busy with that. And in terms of the maintenance of actually looking over each formula, it takes time for all of us. So what I really want to push now as an idea, and I want to discuss it in these 15 minutes that we have, is can we decentralize formulas? Keep them in the same organization, but can we really encourage code owners to come forward and almost take care of repos, you know, where they are, you know, in charge of merging and responding to issues, and really try to encourage that idea. What do you think of that idea as a general thing? So decentralize, take the pressure off this core team for doing all the structural work and the maintenance of actual formulas, and pass that to contributors who actually care about those formulas.
How we find them? How we the problem is how we find contributors.
Yeah.
At the moment, we don't have them. How to say that? Under the end, I don't know who they are. Who are the people who use them?
Let me show you the current situation. So here's where we are right now. Semantic release formulas. So we've got these 27 formulas already with a code owner who's stepped forward. So between us and some other people, we've got all these covered already. And Noel's already agreed with all the new formulas he's bringing in. He will be the maintainer for all of those as well. So we're not too bad over here. We do have obviously a number of formulas there that don't have a code owner, but with a number of these, I've noticed there are regular contributors to them. For example, the Zabbix formula, I know 3 contributors off the top of my head, and I'd rather pass the whole maintenance of the Zabbix formula to them if they were interested in doing that, supporting them fully, of course, but letting them move that formula forward without waiting for us to merge in all their work. What does that sound like as an idea, if we can do that?
It sounds like a good idea to me. Whether it actually comes to pass or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, I think it has to be the way that we go with this, because I mean, we had a private conversation along these lines that it's just not sustainable for a very small group of people, i.e. us, to maintain all of these formulas in the long term. Yeah.
Anyone else? Any ideas about this? Too much, too little?
Okay. Okay, I understood what you said. What you mean. Okay, I'm okay with that. We can't manage the core team. We can't manage all the formulas. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let me show you here, for example. So these are the sort of key formulas that I've highlighted, some of the big formulas that really need an owner, because these are some of our longest standing formulas with the most maturity, and trying to find the contributors in each of these formulas who really cares enough and would be willing to step forward and actually do that. Should we now, I've got 3 ideas written down here. One is obviously approaching known contributors directly. Another one, could we consider having, say, a banner in the README file for formulas without code owners, or a global code owner, I should say? Should we have a banner in our README files encouraging them to step forward?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, to guide them, to tell people that there is work to do, but the core team can't do it, and maybe can help someone to do the job.
Sure, absolutely. Because
yeah, I agree with that.
If I go back here, let's just take this as an example. Every code owner's file that's already there already has a large portion of it is still being maintained by us to some extent. The structure, we're still there. So here's an example where the actual test directory as well is something they wouldn't have to worry about. So we'd be able to say to them, look, we're ready to take care of these things, but the actual formula and how it actually installs and software and configures it and services, you take care of that part. We will support you with the rest of it, but we want to give you the power to actually get on with merging things, closing issues, and just doing everything that's needed at that formula's level. Really encourage contributors to feel a sense of ownership within this, and not in a negative sense, not, oh, that's it, now we leave you to it, we don't want to know anymore, but more so, you know, great, you're doing a fantastic job, and giving them all the help they need for it. Yeah?
Yeah.
How about having an issue? I mean, we could easily push one issue through to all of them. It's quite easy to do by the API, where we actually, in these specific formulas that don't have a global owner, to ask, you know, people if they'd like to step forward to help out in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like looking for contributor issue.
There's a label in GitHub, Help Wanted, for the tickets. So maybe we can submit a ticket with that label there, asking for somebody to help maintain the formula. My only concern with all these ideas is that when you kind of add a message, no matter how neutral you write it, saying help wanted, many people tend to think, oh, this is unmaintained.
Is it?
So
So you see, the thing I think now is, if the repository hasn't had any activity for a period of time, and you look through the commit history, and all you see are these commits to do with structure, you know, oh, structure of this, structure of that, but no actual commits to the main part. People are going to figure out it's unmaintained anyway. What's the point of, or not being maintained fully anyway? So what's the point of hiding?
no, I understand you. The point is, I also noticed that many times the formula are stable, so they are not unmaintained. They just need nothing else at the moment.
You think? Yeah.
It happened to me. I use almost 20, 30 formulas, and many of them don't even change, just they work. So in that case, is kind of logic that you will only see structural changes. But I don't know.
I'd like to ask, is that other people's experience as well? Have they found? Yeah, Never, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. I personally agree with adding a banner to the README file and submitting an issue. At first, to wake up people maintaining those formulas. And if someone say, hey, this formula is not unmaintained, it's just that it doesn't need work because it's working. So we close the issue and we can update the README and the contributors file. And in this way, the ambiguity of being maintained or unmaintained is solved, I think.
Yep, definitely. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. Maybe the work done by the core team can frighten people who just want to improve or work on some formulas. Maybe calling for maintainers, it's a good idea. And I also agree that, in fact, most or some formulas are really stable because they already have most of the functionality that can be in this formula.
Can we some way identify those formulas? Is there a way of actually working that out?
I can. I'm in the process of upgrading formulas in my setup, and I'm looking each version, the previous version I have. Maybe sometimes it's just some month ago, sometimes it's a little more, and I can already identify some that really didn't move that much. It's modifications on map.ninja and things like that, but in reality the functionality is the same.
Could you?
I can try to list some. Yeah.
What if you could just chuck that in here under this section here? Just add a new, hit the add button and add another one explaining whatever you found, because it would be really helpful in this discussion. You know, to know what you found, or what, even all of you. You know, if you found certain formulas are just stable and they're good enough and they don't need any more, that'd be good to know as well before we do all this. So I did write one more thing there, because what I find is people who are contributing today are the ones who are most likely to listen or to respond to us. So I'm getting contributors nowadays who are participating in a formula. I'm thinking to myself, this person shows that they're enthusiastic about this formula. Why not them? Or is that too early? I mean, especially if I've seen them around now for a while, why not them?
Well, there's no harm in asking, surely.
Yeah, if there's enough of a relationship there, I think it's worth pursuing. So if you see me doing that in the org and I maybe talking to people, I just want you, we're all agreed that we're happy with the idea of trying to encourage other people to step forward. And if they take care of one formula, maybe two formulas, and they show that they've, you know, they're great, they're doing a good job of it, then we can always encourage them to join the contributors team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fantastic. Javier, I had to fix the Travis CI as part of this whole process. I had to sort of push the keys and all sorts of things to all the formulas. I came across about 4 formulas here. I don't know if you can see them clearly, but they're not under Travis properly. They're not actually known to the API. Did you manage to email them last time to contact them about formulas and stuff? Was it you or was it someone else?
Not someone else for sure.
Okay, someone emailed them. Eric, was it you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. We just need someone to, I'll probably get around to this if no one else can, but if anyone sees this task and is happy to just email Travis support and just ask for them to enable these formulas for us, because I think it needs to go through them to get it done. So we have all of our formulas all under travisci.com because they're not properly configured for some reason. And that's that point. And we're almost done. Was there anything else I had to mention here? Done that one. GitHub bots not important right now, and the rest of it's not important right now. Any other questions about this particular 2-week sprint? Any ideas, any thoughts? Anything I need to go back to? No, we're good. Okay, so please get involved with the actual Tiger board directly and put in any ideas, throw things in there. If they're no good, we can always take them out. It's not a problem. But it would just be great to have these bigger ideas, the strategy behind start stack formulas in one place so we can work out. Are you comfortable? Is this Tiger accessible or is it a little bit abstract or a little bit, is it a good enough solution?
Personally, I haven't really had a chance to get into it. I haven't used a tool like this before, so in a way, I kind of feel like I don't know where to start. I don't know if that's a common feeling.
Go on, Eric.
Yeah, I just opened it while you were talking, and I have difficulties to find what I'm looking for. But maybe it's just pass some time on it and just find how it works.
Okay. Generally, when you say, sorry, Eric, what were you looking for?
Just the 1 or 2. Okay, there is a search option. Okay,
right.
I'm on one task and wanted to see another. I don't know how to search for them.
Okay, the search should pull you out of most of that. It's fairly decent. It should be able to get you what you need. Generally, just quickly, yeah, go on. Go for it.
No.
I thought you were about to say something. So generally, the epics we're not going to touch because these are the overall picture that I put in that diagram last time. This is literally the epics are taken out of this diagram and put into here. So you don't need to touch those. The backlog itself is things we're not really interested in today, especially the things, there's that filter there. Just use this custom filter. You don't need to see the ones that are not marked as the ones that are still marked as new are not priority at the moment. We're going to leave them for the time being. Look at them if you like, but they're not really important. And actually, even anything in the backlog here is not something we're working on right now. The only thing you ever really need is the current sprint. And the current sprint right now is meeting 3. You see the dates there. So just go to the current sprint. And my habit is to open and close things that matter to me. So I use it in this form normally, and I'll look at something and I'll only concentrate on that. But you can look around inside there and feel free to add things. It's not a problem. Yeah, go for it, Daniel.
Yeah, can you just click on the the arrows with backlog meetings?
Yep, backlog.
With the filter, yeah. Backlog meeting. I was looking for where do you find the? Oh, okay, and now you have filters. Okay, no, it's me. I found what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, the history is here. the previous meetings are under closed sprints, so it hides them away once they're completed. So you'll find meeting 1 has nothing in it. We didn't actually do anything for meeting 1 in the sense of capturing it here, but meeting 2 is all of what I showed you, and you can see it all there, or click on the meeting itself and actually look at the task board. Otherwise, everything's under meeting 3 for us. That's what, in this next 2 weeks, the only things that are of any appropriateness at the moment are there. And just look through so effectively look through the user stories that interest you, the sort of topics, if you like. And then there are the tasks in there, and anything you want to add or comment on, or, well, like I said, add it. If it's a problem, we can always get rid of it. It's not, feel free to interact, because it would be good to have your feedback in there. Yeah. And actually what I'd also say is, if there's anything you get done, let's say you complete a task that's to do with the organization and you don't know where to put it, just come to the bottom here and you have something called storyless tasks. Just, if you've reviewed a PR or you've done something that's not already mentioned, just add in the task there and slide it along. So some task I did, doesn't matter. And as you worked on it, you can just slide it along through the columns. So it's in progress now and you're showing what you've been doing. And if you want someone to review it, you put it in the review column, and once it's done, it will be moved into closed. It's not a problem. Feel free to add it and we can always organize it as we go along. Yeah?
It's okay to me.
Great, fine. And if anyone else is there who's not already on Tiger and they want to be involved, you're welcome. Just, like I said, get in touch with me on Slack or by my email that's everywhere throughout this organization, and we can add you to the team as well. All right, guys, I think we've done an hour now, so we can wrap up and catch up in next 2 weeks' time, I think.
Imran, can I ask something?
Yeah, go for it.
Just a possible something to do in one of the future meetings. I wonder if you could present SSF formula in some way.
Okay, let's just put this here. Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, I've looked at it.
Yeah.
Even after looking at it and working with it, there's still things that are not clear to me about why or what it does. So maybe you could spend 10 minutes going through the formula. But also, I mean, do you intend for other people to both contribute to SSF formula, but also kind of apply it as well? Is that
if I show you
on the roadmap?
Of course. Actually, when I first set it up, right at the beginning, I made issue number 1 and collect initial feedback from relevant. So it was there from the beginning. And I always intended for this to be something that people brought their own pull requests into and added to. Because if you look at each pull request itself, it's actually not that complicated when you look at it as a unit. I don't know. Have you seen one pull request and seen how it looks?
I have, yes.
They're generally quite small. So these are one of the ones that actually these are some of the more complicated ones, but never mind. Let's say when we're adding a new formula, the formula gets added to pillar.example. I'm not going to do it in detail. You just set out the suites that are running the formula. So there's a default suite and a suite for Arch. So these are the inspect suites that you have in there. You add it to the contributing docs, and you just lay out, and I can do, obviously I'll do this properly because I can't do it now at all, but you just lay out the features of how this formula has been configured by the PR author, and you just add it all in there in the right structure with the platforms and everything else, and then you run it. I think the hardest part is running it, where how you configure your pillar to actually do what's needed to be done.
Yeah, I mean, oh, well, I mean, I know some of this because I've tried to use it. But yeah, no, I think a general overview. I mean, one question I have is, it's not clear to me why there's a divide between, I think it's defaults.yaml and formulas.yaml.
Okay.
And then there are defaults in the formulas. If I'm right, there are defaults in the formulas YAML. Yeah. And there are formulas in the default.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. No, you're absolutely right. I'll explain all the method to the madness. I'll explain it all when we do that properly. But that would actually end up taking quite a bit of time, because what I'd do, I'd run it through with you guys. I'd actually take you through one of these conversions maybe and show you what I'd do to do that. It'd probably take about half an hour at least.
Yeah, a conversion would be good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, if the desire's there, no problem at all. I just didn't want to pressurize people with it. Like, I know everyone's got a lot to do already, and I thought, I'll do this, and when people show an interest, I'm ready to pass, start getting other people involved. I've got no problem with that at all. I'd love to. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic. We've overstretched a little bit there, but it's good having you all. And yeah. All right, guys. So we'll wrap up now then, and we'll catch up in 2 weeks' time. All right?
Okay, cheers then.
Yeah,
See you
cheers.
around.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Imran, real quick before we go.
Yeah?
I connected you with Bryce. He's an SRE on the SaltStack team.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to answer your question about GitHub more directly. Instead of having me be the middleman, it'd probably be best just to ask him directly.
Sure.
He knows
Sure.
what he's talking about when it comes
Can I ask you one question? How can we get you more involved in this? Because there's a lot of heavy formula talk, but I really wanted to make this where there was more of a bridge between us and I think it was that first meeting. I really wanted to draw you into that first meeting when I was going through the map so I could explain every part of it to you. Is there anything I can do to make it more accessible to you? All of what we're talking about.
That's the hard thing. I've certainly got a lot on my plate too, and I'm interested in formulas, but it's not something that I'm actively developing.
Yeah, of course.
I wrote some formulas like 4 years ago, but I haven't been active in it.
Sure.
My part was mostly like, I saw that you guys would benefit from a working group, and I was trying to get you connected with Cassandra and all that so that you would have the tools that you need, but I'm not an active formulas developer.
Sure. As this, because what we're doing at the moment, as you see in these meetings, we're just getting this opportunity to really clear a lot of stuff that's been building up over a long time. But as this stretches out, maybe in a few more meetings time, I believe there'll be a lot more room for actually talking about the bridge between, or just what can be done between Salt and SaltStack formulas a bit more. I'd like to draw you into it a lot more when we go down the line. Is that okay? Yeah? I can't hear you.
Immediately last time with the GitHub question. I should have connected with you with Bryce rather than trying to man in the middle it.
Okay. Where do you see, like from your angle towards us, what would you like to do, or what would you like to be part of here? Like in sense of what can we do to make this more worthwhile? From your side as well.
Not that it's not worthwhile. It's just I've got a lot of things that are my highest priority right now.
Sure.
As you know, as developers, when you got like 10 things on your plate and every single one of them is your top priority, it's difficult to.
Okay, well, we'll work it out over time. But thanks a lot
Right.
anyway for joining in and being here and stuff. And definitely we'll try
I
and.
really appreciate everything that you've done to head this and lead it. It's been really great.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks a lot for your help, and catch up to you later on. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.